this happy place, welcome
to Orlando Fun.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike from theparkprodigy.com, and on today's video we're going to break down everything I wish I knew before my first trip to Universal Orlando. And at the time of the recording of this video, we are getting close to the start of 2024. So here at the Park Prodigy, we are jumping back into the basics to help you all be as prepared as possible for your next Universal Orlando trip. And this is definitely one of the best places to start. Just some of the little tips and tricks that we've picked up that we wish we knew when we started hitting the Universal Orlando parks. So if you are in the process of planning a Universal Orlando trip, just be sure to hit that subscribe button, as we have a lot more similar videos coming out in the coming weeks to get you as prepared as possible. Also, these tips and tricks, no matter what time you are going to be watching this video, what year you're watching this video, you'll be able to use this for your next Universal Orlando trip. So without any further ado, let's go get started. Thank you all again so much for checking out this video. Like I said, we are about to break down everything I wish I knew before my first Universal Orlando trip, and essentially everything we think you do need to know at home as you are planning your first Universal Orlando vacation. And so we are going to start with number one, and we're starting with heavy hitter. If you've been watching our channel, you already know we love early park admission here at the Park Prodigy, and we would say if you can take advantage of early park admission, be sure you do over in the parks. Now, one of the main benefits of early park admission is just like it sounds. You do get an extra hour in the theme parks, but specifically you get an extra hour in the parks when there's less crowds. And we think, you'll be surprised at just how much you can get done in the theme parks when there's less crowds. Specifically, the two most popular parks to really use this at are going to be Islands of Adventure, and then also I find Volcano Bay to be a great park to really, you'll be surprised by just how much you get done within the parks. But specifically Islands of Adventure, when it is open for early park admission, guests can go and take advantage of Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure, the Jurassic World Velocicoaster, and then the two other Harry Potter rides, which are the Forbidden Journey and Flight of the Hippogriff. And the really important thing about Islands of Adventure is that Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure is not included with the Universal Express Pass. So even if you're staying over at one of those really cool Universal Premier Resorts, you're not going to be able to skip the lines on this one ride. So that is the benefit of taking advantage of early park admission. Now, over to the next one, and this one will really be important for my families who are visiting specifically for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And we get a ton of calls specifically for our boy Harry Potter, right? Families are like, what's the best way to do everything within the two lands, because it is split between Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios Florida. So that's really important to understand. And then also it's important to understand that there's one ride that is not included in a regular Universal Orlando ticket, and that is going to be the Hogwarts Express. You need a park-to-park ticket in order to enjoy the Hogwarts Express, which in my opinion is an important part of getting that full Harry Potter experience. So Universal, from a marketing standpoint, they really, they put us in a position where you do need to upgrade in order to experience it all, specifically for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. So we would say just keep that in mind as you're planning, and also you'll be familiar that there are two lands. There's Hogsmeade over in Islands of Adventure, and there's Diagon Alley in Universal Studios Florida. So it is split between the two parks, and you really do need to visit either the two parks, with that park-to-park ticket on the same day, or if you're cool with skipping the Hogwarts Express, right, you do need to understand you still need to visit each park individually on a separate day in order to really get the most out of that Harry Potter experience. Okay, over to number three, and we would say don't forget to download the Universal Orlando app, but specifically don't forget to download the Universal Orlando app before you get to Florida. And so this is really important for a couple of reasons, but of course, when it comes to downloading the app, right, it's always best to download it on Wi-Fi or something like that, because it will download quicker. But also downloading it in advance allows you to get familiar with the app, and we find that it is a crucial part of planning your days and being in the park, specifically because it will give you real-time information on ride wait times, on show schedules. It does have an interactive map where you can kind of figure out, it's like those old photos in the hotel room, like you are here, and then you need to get here, right? So it will just help you navigate throughout the parks, especially if you're teaming up with a company like the Park Prodigy. We're giving you essentially like an itinerary of exactly which rides to go on and when. And a big part of just kind of really using that itinerary the best is to kind of team it up with the Universal Orlando app. So definitely be sure to download it before you get to Orlando and get familiar with it as much as you possibly can. Okay, so over to number 4, and we would say be familiar with the single rider line. So if you don't mind riding alone, the single rider line can be a great way to try to save some time in the parks. Now this is specifically true for a lot of the most popular attractions, such as the Incredible Hulk coaster and the Revenge of the Mummy. And then they also have it over in the Velocicoaster and then Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. But from what we've read, I would say for those two rides specifically, sometimes it actually can be a little bit longer than the regular standby line, which is crazy. So, this is a complicated one because it's not one size fits all, but just be familiar with it. Again, if you have one teenager or someone who just wants to go on the coasters, they can try to take advantage of that single rider line. And speaking of the coasters, this brings me to my next tip and trick and things I wish I knew. Pretty much all of the main roller coasters will have lockers outside of them. So this is important from a timing and a planning standpoint, where if you do have backpacks, with snacks and stuff like that in them, or if you have purses, stuff like that, you will have to put them into a locker. The lockers for the roller coasters are free. You essentially get like a time limit. But just keep that in mind as you're planning, because you'll show up to a ride and you'll try to just go, hop on the queue, and they'll be like, oh no, you have to go check your stuff into a locker. So just, be prepared for that. The other important tip and thing I wish I knew, and I've done this a lot, okay, and I know this, and I go to Universal a lot, but I still do this, is that you need your ticket in order to scan back into the locker. So I'll lock my ticket in the locker a lot of times, and then you're like, oh, well, how do I get my stuff now? So be prepared for that. Be familiar with that. Make sure when you put your bags into the locker, don't do like me. Make sure that you do bring your ticket with you, as that is what you'll scan to get your stuff after you get off the ride. Another really important one thing, something I wish I knew, is that a lot of the rides, specifically the motion simulators, will make you a little motion sickness if you are prone to motion sickness. There's another ride, specifically Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, that if you do get motion sickness, my honest opinion is just skip this ride completely, because it is on another level of motion sickness, and I've spoken about this a lot. But outside of that, if you get a little motion sickness, be sure to take Dramamine. I do find that Dramamine will help you significantly, but it's just something to keep in mind, because specifically it is something that's a little bit more popular. I'm not saying motion sickness is popular, but it will happen more often at Universal than over at Disney. All right, so another one for guests who might not be as familiar with Florida, just in general, is that you do need to make sure you stay hydrated, especially during those summer months. Be sure to bring a refillable water bottle to stay as hydrated as possible. There are water fountains throughout the park where you can fill up for free, and you can also request free cups throughout the day at the quick service restaurants. But be sure to stay hydrated. It is such an important part. And I would say, if you feel like you're getting dehydrated, it's not too late, but you need to drink more water to just get caught up. You should always feel like you're drinking more than you actually need to. All right, another really important one, and understand the Universal Express Pass. And we would say, especially from a budgeting standpoint, be sure to look at all options. And we've done plenty of videos on this, and just be sure to go type in the Park Prodigy Universal Express Pass if you're trying to learn more on how this works. But specifically, Universal has a couple ways to kind of save some money. Specifically, if you do stay at a Universal Orlando Premier Resort, you will get the unlimited Express Passes absolutely free. Also, Universal has a really cool option, which is essentially it's a combo ticket, and we do sell it over at the Park Prodigy, where it's pretty much bundle and save, and we've seen some significant savings during specific times of year with that. But of course, if you are trying to just skip the lines completely and take the advantage and get the most out of the Universal Express Pass, there are a couple of different ways to do that. And if you are looking for some free vacation planning tools, just to get a little bit more familiar with the different ticket options, right, all that good stuff, we do have a complete vacation planning ebook, and we're giving that away for free. I will leave a link to that ebook in our show notes, but you can go and grab that ebook for free just to read up and get a little bit more familiar with everything Universal Orlando has to offer. Okay, so over to the next tip and trick, and this is another really important one, specifically when it comes to figuring out the best ticket option. And we would say that there are a lot of times throughout the year where Universal Orlando will have a special type of promotion. Now, at the time of the recording of this video, Universal actually has buy 3 days, get 2 days free. Now, of course, I can guarantee that it won't always be like that in the future, right? But what I will say is that it's always worth it to take a look and to shop around, specifically when it comes to Universal Orlando. And I would also say that going into 2024, more than likely we probably are going to see another promotion like this. But when we get into 2025 with the new Universal Orlando theme park coming, which is Epic Universe, we might not see a deal like this for a while, just because I feel like so many families are going to want to come and check out the brand new park. So be sure to take advantage of the deals while they last. Okay, so over to the next one that I wish I knew before coming to Universal Orlando, and this is specifically coming over from Walt Disney World, which is, I feel like this is kind of the route that a lot of families take, right? As they start to get into theme park vacations, they go over to Walt Disney World, and then as the kids get older and they're looking for those more thrill rides, they'll come over to Universal Orlando. But one of the things that you do have to keep in mind is that there are not as many character dining experiences over in Universal as over in Disney. So this is specifically for those families who might still have, the younger kids, and you're looking to try to figure out, like, hey, how do we get the most out of our time in the parks? Just keep that in mind, especially if you do love those character dining experiences over in Walt Disney World. There's not as many over in the parks. Now, over to the next one, there are some really, really cool character experiences, though, outside of dining that I feel like your family will love, specifically, characters, of course, that you won't get over at Disney in the park. Some of them that come to mind are going to be some of the Marvel characters like Captain America, Spider-Man, and then of course we do have a lot of the DreamWorks characters too, and I know the DreamWorks is really, really popular. And of course we can't forget Minions, Scooby-Doo. There's just so many, but keep that in mind as you are planning your trip, especially with younger kids. You do have a lot of character experiences throughout the park that you can take advantage of. Now, over to the next tip and trick, and this is just my honest opinion. This is just my personal, I have to just state that because a lot of times people will come in the comment section telling me I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. This is just my honest opinion. I don't think the sit-down restaurants at Universal Orlando are as good as over at Disney. So, what I would say to this is that when you're planning your trip, if you're like trying to figure out like, oh, we're trying to get on so many rides, we don't know if we have time for a sit-down dining experience. If it like makes or breaks it, I would just skip the sit-down dining experience. It's just my honest opinion. But over at Disney, like specific restaurants, like I would skip rides to go to that specific restaurant. The other important thing to keep in mind, and again, this is just my honest opinion, is that there aren't as many good breakfast options in Universal as over in Disney. So just keep that. I keep saying keep that in mind, but keep it in mind. What can I say? As you're planning your Universal Orlando trip. Now, it's kind of sticking with food for a little bit. Don't forget that Universal Orlando does have a really popular snack in the Universal Butterbeer. It's kind of the Dole Whip version, or from a Dole Whip popularity standpoint. Universal does have the Butterbeer, and it comes in a lot of different varieties, specifically for my Harry Potter fans. We do have the regular Butterbeer. We have frozen. We have a hot Butterbeer. We have ice cream, which is my personal favorite, and then we do have fudge. Also, for my adults visiting Universal Orlando, one of the cool things that I have learned is that Universal Orlando actually has some specific Harry Potter beers for everyone who might want an adult beverage while in the park. So we do have Hogshead Brew, we have Dragon Scale, we have Wizard's Brew, and then we do have a couple of other, quote-unquote cool Harry Potter drinks that you could take advantage of. So this next one is for families who might be visiting in early spring, pretty much anytime between late February through, I would say at this point, early May. And we would say be sure to be familiar with Universal Mardi Gras. It's a really fun event and something that we didn't experience here at the Park Prodigy until a couple years ago, but it is a really, really cool event. And I feel like Halloween Horror Nights does get all the popularity, but this is something that, timing wise, it just might work out for you to kind of, take advantage of something special. And then, of course, when it does come to Halloween Horror Nights, be prepared for this event, especially if it is your first time planning a Universal trip for Horror Nights. Be familiar with how long the night is going to be, meaning that the parks will close at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning for this event. And again, my opinion is without, let's say, an express pass ticket or a VIP experience, you really will need to stay in the parks until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning to get almost everything done. Now, I've done it, early on in my theme park days, where I've done it where we planned a day in the park, so we hit the parks for early park admission, and then we also stayed all the way through to Halloween Horror Nights. I was exhausted. Honestly, it was miserable. I did not enjoy that day, and I would say if you can avoid that, don't do that. If you're planning to be in the parks for Halloween Horror Nights, really until close, definitely take an afternoon break, try to nap or something like that, just to make sure you have enough energy to get all the way through the parks. And because the other reason too, and this is important, is that I'm almost positive, this is years ago, but I'm almost positive that day cost about $500 per person for a regular Universal Orlando one-day ticket. Then we did Halloween Horror Nights, and we did the Express Pass for Halloween Horror Nights. Pretty sure it was like $500 for each person. So when you like $500 for that day and to be that miserable at the end of the night doesn't really make sense to me at this point in life anyway. So I would not do that again. I would, and everyone's different, but what I would say, if I'm gonna spend that type of money, I would almost rather spend it on just the VIP experience alone. And then, again, because just it's like it sounds, you'll get brought to the front of the line and you're just going to enjoy your time at Horror Nights that much more. Okay, another really important one, and we just talked about this on our best tips and tricks for visiting Universal at night, and we would say that everyone will park in the same garage for Universal Orlando, even if you're going to Volcano Bay. And this is another really popular question that we get a lot, just because families are doing the right thing and they're trying to prepare, especially if you're driving in from your nearby hotel. Where do we park? Where do we park for Volcano Bay? Where do we park for Islands of Adventure? All you have to do is type in Universal Orlando into the GPS, and it's going to take you to the main parking garage, and that's where you'll park for all three parks. So it's really, really convenient. Okay, over to the next one. And this one is something that we didn't learn about right away. And specifically, we would say the nighttime show on Hogwarts Castle. One of the reasons why we didn't know this was going on for a while is because Universal doesn't have the nightly hours anywhere. They don't have it on the app. They don't have it on the website. It pretty much, they'll run the show on certain nights, and you don't really know what night it is. So we would say, if you do have Harry Potter fans in your family, be familiar with this, that there is a nighttime show on Hogwarts Castle. Be familiar that when the nights that it will be running, it will run every 15 to 20 minutes. And also be sure to ask a team member when you're getting to the parks if there will be a nighttime show that night, just like we said, because it's not posted anywhere, so it's kind of difficult for you to plan around this. Okay, but another really important one, specifically for families who are visiting with younger kids, like we said, as you're visiting with younger kids, specifically at Universal, you're really trying to figure out, how do we get the most out of our days? Because at this point in time, there's not as many rides for the younger kids. Universal's doing a great job to really bring a lot of new rides and stuff into the parks. But one of the things that we have found that can be a great way for you to, spend a lot of time and get the most out of your day is to upgrade and get an interactive Harry Potter wand. And just like it sounds, because it's interactive, there's going to be different spots throughout both the lands, Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley, where you can go and you can use your wand to kind of, cast spells throughout the parks. So this could be a great way for your kids to keep busy and, for a whole family to have fun. Okay, over to the next one. Another important one is plan for the shows. Now, be sure to check the schedule on the Universal Orlando app if you listen to tip number 3. But there are also different street shows, specifically in Universal Studios Florida and over in Hogsmeade in Islands of Adventure. There's going to be different shows that will pop up throughout the day. Also, Universal does have some really amazing, real live shows, such as the Born Stuntacular. And this could be a great way to get out of the hot sun, especially in those summer Florida days, and drinking water, staying hydrated. So we're tying all these tips and tricks together. Another really important one, this is, again, especially if you're visiting during those summer months, make sure that you dress comfortably, right? You want to be sure to have comfortable shoes. You're going to be doing a lot of walking, and of course, comfortable clothing. Now, this is just as important, I would say, in those winter months too. Florida is all over the place when it comes to weather. Specifically in the summer months, it's going to be extremely hot, but then in those, November to February, you really don't know what you're going to get from a weather standpoint. So be prepared, be familiar for, sweatshirts for those, chilly Florida nights. But, I would say most importantly, just make sure you're bringing comfortable stuff, right? Because it is long days in the parks. Over to the next one, and we would say if you did download the Universal Orlando app, you can take advantage of mobile food ordering where it is available. And there's even some restaurants where when you show up, Universal will be like, oh, you can only mobile order here, right? So I would say be familiar with that. Add a credit card to your Universal Orlando account before you get to the parks if you do plan to take advantage of mobile ordering, but this is another really popular one that comes up. We've had some guests tell us that they've had really bad experiences with the mobile ordering. I would say the most important thing is sometimes I've mobile ordered and it kind of feels like they don't even have your order. But again, just be vocal, just always ask if you're unsure, what's going on, if it's been longer than it should have been. And we still feel like more times than not, it does save us time. Okay, moving on to the next one. And we would say be sure to take breaks. So, we've spoken about this, especially if you're planning, take advantage of the parks for early park admission and then stay in the parks until really, really late at night. Taking a break in the middle of the day can be a great way to recharge your batteries and just make sure that, those late night hours, you are getting the most out of your time in the parks. But if you are skipping this one, another important one is to be sure to bring a portable phone charger, just because you are going to be in the parks for a long time, right? You're going to be using the official Universal Orlando app. You're going to be, texting family members as everyone, kind of who goes to get a snack, who goes to the restroom, like stuff like that. So just be sure that you do have a portable phone charger to keep your devices going throughout the day. And another important one is to be strategic. And we're going to actually leave it on this one. So I would say left the best for last. But be strategic in how you're tackling the parks, right? And if you're unsure, you can always team up with a company like the Park Prodigy. We will help you come up with custom itineraries for your time in the parks. But this is a really, really important one, because a lot of times, especially for first-time visitors, some of the stuff that we will hear when we get phone calls from our clients is, we went last year, we took the kids to Disney and it was a disaster. Especially Disney, because there's so much extra planning that goes into it. But, having a game plan and understanding where you need to go and when, and even, like I said, and I'm a shameless plug, but even if you don't have time to research, you could team up with a company like the Park Prodigy, and we'll tell you, you tell us like, hey, my kids are really into Marvel, they're into Harry Potter and Jurassic Park. Like, we'll tell you, oh, okay, this is the order to go on, and these are the rides you have to go and do. And of course, we'll get in some dining and stuff like that. But just having a game plan will save you a tremendous amount of time. And I would say most importantly, it's going to allow you to have a stress-free vacation, which that is the whole point of a theme park vacation, especially when visiting with your family, is everyone gets to spend quality time together, enjoy yourself, build those memories, right? But if you're freaking out over which rides or, where to go and, what line to get on and what time to get on the line, it's going to kind of take away from that. And that's why I really started the Park Prodigy, and that's kind of, been our goal from the get-go. So be sure to have that, come up with a game plan, know which rides your family wants to go on, know which rides it's best time to use for early park admission, best time to go on at night, and just, be prepared. And again, hopefully that will allow you to have the best and most amazing vacation possible. But that is the list, everyone. Those are some of the things we wish we knew before we started going to Universal Orlando Resort. I really, really hope that you found this video helpful. And like I said, if you are in the process of planning a Universal Orlando trip and you do need a little additional help, just be sure to go check out our website, theparkprodigy.com. And as a thank you for sticking around all the way till the end of this video, we have a promo code that you can use. It is YouTube25. You can use that on all multi-day tickets to grab an extra $25 off your ticket order if you do decide to buy from the Park Prodigy. Or if you want to upgrade to an official Universal Orlando vacation package, you can use promo code MAGIC50. You'll automatically get an extra $50 off any vacation package you decide to book through theparkprodigy.com. But again, I really hope that you found this video helpful. Thank you all again so much for sticking around till the end. And until next time, I will talk to you soon.